Welcome to Tracking. Taylor Majors here for Andrews Engineering Associates. This morning we've got part 2 of our September rail report. In part 1 we focused on the rail industry and the rail sector. This morning we'll be taking a look at the broader economy. And with that, let's get right into it. Net new farm payrolls increased 194,000 in the month of September. This was actually a miss from expectations of 400 to 500,000 new jobs created. Despite the disappointing report, the unemployment rate actually dropped from 5.2 to 4.8%. Remember though, the unemployment rate is based on the number of people who are actively looking for work. The metric for measuring that, the labor force participation rate, dropped from 61.7 to 61.6. Now, 0.1% may not sound much, but in other words, that's 338,000 workers that dropped out of the labor force in September. In February 2020, just before the pandemic hit, labor force participation rate was 63.4%, or almost 2 full points higher. That recent report came as a big surprise considering everywhere you go, you see hiring signs right now, hire now, $5,000 sign-on bonus. It seems like everyone's hiring. So what's happening? The most recent JOLTS, or Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey report, showed there were 10.4 million jobs open at the end of August. While that's slightly down from July's record 11 million, it's still much higher than the 7.6 million unemployed persons currently looking for work. Add that to a pandemic low of 293,000 initial jobless claims for the week ending October 9th, and we're left with some real questions about where the workers have gone. For an example, just look at Class 1 railroad employment, which has now decreased for 2 months straight and was down by 1,239 people in the month of August. The jobs report isn't the only place you can see the slowdown. Industrial output fell in September to 100.0 from 101.3 in August, making the second straight month of decline. Capacity utilization was also down a full point in August to 75.2, the lowest level it's been since April 2021. Part shortages and shipping delays are largely being blamed for these slowdowns. For a perfect example of part shortages and supply bottlenecks slowing down the economy, look no further than the automobile sector. Production of new vehicles and automobile parts fell 7.2% last month. That's pretty astounding when you look at the empty car dealer lots across the United States right now. The reason for it? They just can't get parts. Ford just announced that they're shutting down their plant for 2 days of production here a few weeks ago. This just continues to go on, and there is no end in sight. Finally, add all that to consumer confidence dropping to a multi-month low of 109.3 in August, down from 125.1 just as recently as July, and you've got to start wondering, what's going on? Well, we certainly aren't speculating, but there may be one silver lining in all of this. All this information is backward looking, and specifically the survey times are from times when the Delta variant was peaking and raging across the U.S. While cases are certainly high, they have broken and dropped precipitously here in current weeks. We look forward to seeing data over the next couple of months and hope that the acceleration will retrend. We close our economic segment with the New York Federal Reserve Board's weekly economic index. The WEI is made up of 10 components covering the economy, then scaled to a 4-quarter GDP rate. In other words, if the WEI read -2 for an entire quarter, we would expect the annualized growth rate for that quarter to be -2%. Since March, the WEI has not been under 7. The most recent reading was 7.32% for the week of October 9th. While we have seen the numbers trending back toward the mean, it still clearly shows the economy in growth mode, and in fact is a little bit contradictory to some of the other statistics that we pointed out earlier in the report. Third quarter GDP will be released at the end of October, and we are very curious to see how these two numbers align. Also, as COVID cases begin waning, obviously assuming there's not a winter surge, will we see this number reaccelerating? We are approaching tougher comps as we come to the first of the year, and that is going to affect our overall growth rate, but the trend is still clearly in the positive direction. We thank you for joining us for part 2 of our September rail report. Remember, for all your trackmobile railcar mover needs, contact Andrews Engineering Associates. We'll see you next time, and until then, keep it on the rails.